Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Season 10, Week 4 of the LDQL. I am in a little bit of a rush right now because the deadline is fast approaching and there's a math quiz and I need to explain my math answers within the bounds of the video. If I have to, I'll just submit the quizzes early and then go over them in the video a little bit after that, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Anyway, first is quiz number 1 called Sensory Overload and written by Benny. First of all, in Operation Nifty Package, U.S. troops played incredibly loud music outside the Vatican Embassy in Panama in an attempt to get which Panamanian to surrender to the troops outside. It was successful after several days. I've never heard of this. The only Panamanian I can even think of is Manuel Noriega, who was the dictator of Panama for a long time. I did forget his name in a different trivia competition recently, but thankfully I remembered it this time. It's probably him. I mean, it could be somebody else, but if it's somebody else, I'm not going to get it. Question 2. Some of the largest gatherings of humans in history have occurred during the Kumbh Mela pilgrimage, undertaken by hundreds of Hindu worshippers every 3 years. The site of the pilgrimage shifts between 4 locations, each chosen due to their proximity to sacred examples of what geological features. Not really sure, to be honest. I'm just gonna say rivers for this because I feel like it makes sense. I've heard of Kumbh Mela. I couldn't really tell you what it is, but I don't know, something in Hinduism that is sacred. Of course, the Ganges and all of that. They're very well known for having sacred rivers, and I think it's just I think it just makes sense. But it could be volcanoes or mountains or something along those lines. But anything I could think of didn't sound as good as rivers, so I'm going to guess rivers. Question 3, could I interest you in everything all of the time? A little bit of everything all of the time. These lyrics appear in Welcome to the Internet, a song from which musical comedy special. This production by Bo Burnham was filmed during the COVID lockdown and depicts his struggles with mental health and dealing with modern day society. This is called Inside. Bo Burnham Inside is just kind of a phrase that exists in my head. There's a very, very good song called All Eyes on Me from that album, basically, that special, that's very, very good, worth listening to if you haven't. There are probably other good songs from it too. To be honest, that's kind of the only Bo Burnham song I've actually listened to, but it is fantastic. Question 4, sensory overload might have been experienced by the attendees of which former Italian prime minister's bunga bunga parties, which were essentially lavish, orgy-esque sex parties that possibly involved underage women. This man, who served as prime minister 3 separate times between 1994 and 2011, would eventually be convicted of soliciting sex from a minor in 2013. I mean, I'm just going to say Berlusconi. Again, I'm not 100% sure that this is right, but it's he's just an Italian prime minister who served for some time and is, I think, infamous for being shady. I don't really know much about it, but I guess this is what it's about. But I'm pretty sure this is just going to be Berlusconi. Question 5, the movie Whiplash will not literally give you whiplash, but its loud, climactic finale is shot in a way that feels intense and almost overstimulating. The final shots of the movie are hard close-ups on the faces of Andrew Neiman, played by Miles Teller, and Terrence Fletcher, played by J.K. Simmons. Fantastic movie. I really, really like Whiplash. And question number 6, electric music and solid walls of sound are features of the band, led by a woman with what name as described in a 1973 song. Looking at this woman in her mohair suit and electric boots might cause sensory overload in and of itself. These are lyrics from Elton John's Benny and the Jets. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know Benny was a woman until literally now, which is crazy, but I guess I just assumed that Benny was a guy. I don't know. I haven't listened to the song closely enough. Clearly, it comes on all the time. It's quite famous. But yeah, I I was kind of lacking there, apparently. I guess I just saw Benny and assumed it was a guy's name. Anyway, I think I'm going to enhance Inside because I really don't think that that's that easy. It's just something I happen to know because I happen to know that one song from it and that was a Netflix special that existed. Or is it Netflix? I think it's Netflix. Maybe not. I don't know. Whatever. It's a thing. Yeah, I don't feel 100% about all of these, but I feel pretty good about most of them, to be honest. This might be 6 out of 6. I feel like it. Yeah, I don't know. There's a few that are just kind of unsure, but feel decent about. So we'll see. Bridges. That looks like a bridge, I guess. It's kind of far away, but I think it counts. Benny, J.K. Simmons, Berlusconi, Inside, Rivers, and Noriega. Let's go. 6 out of 6 on quiz number 1, and an excellent start. Moving swiftly onward to quiz number 2, which is not going to go as well. I'll tell you that already. I read through this one and I was like, yeah, this is just, it's a little further outside my wheelhouse. Number 1, the entirely blank chapter, Vanished into the Clouds, implies the title character's death in the Heian-era novel The Tale of Genji. Genji is the character's surname. What is his given name? A chess grandmaster who publicly uses this first name is the most popular chess streamer on Twitch. I have to assume the most popular chess streamer on Twitch is Hikaru Nakamura. I had no idea that this was the given name of Genji, but kind of a cool fact. Also, did not know that Hikaru Nakamura's first name was Christopher, but apparently it is. Question 2. What band encouraged listeners to stream their album Sleepify, consisting of 10 tracks full of silence, while sleeping so they could finance a free concert? This band, known for funk tracks like Back Pocket, has joked that their name is not the German term for a group of animals, but instead refers to a kiss from one of those animals. I thought for a while about this. I came up with absolutely nothing. I'm going to say Rammstein. I know that they came up in LDQL before. I know that this does not sound like a group of animals. I'm sorry. Please don't kill me. I don't know the answer to this, and I've given up trying to figure it out. Question 3. The political achievements of the Earl of Dalkeith, a pamphlet of 32 entirely blank pages, helped William Montague Douglas Scott lose his role as MP of Midlothian to what Liberal politician who was a longtime rival of Benjamin Disraeli? The guy who was famously a rival of Benjamin Disraeli is William Gladstone. To be quite honest, I don't really know anything else about him. I just know that he was rivals with Disraeli, which thankfully is good enough for this question. Question 4. A diagram first published in 1869 featured a number of blank spots labeled with Sanskrit-derived prefixes including eka, dvi, and tri to describe predicted entries. By what name do we call this now filled diagram today? This one took me a while, but I think I came up with a reasonable answer for this. At first I was thinking it was some kind of like calendar or something, like a Hindu calendar, but like it kind of just didn't make sense. And I was like, what is a diagram that has blank spots that are now filled? And then it kind of hit me that the periodic table makes a lot of sense for this. I mean, I didn't know that presumably Mendeleev used Sanskrit prefixes for the elements. I had no idea that that was a thing. And maybe it's not. Again, I'm not totally sure that this is right. But I think it makes a lot of sense. Just like a thing that was first published around that time, predicted entries, now filled diagram, just kind of sounds like the periodic table. So we will see. Question number 5. A fully blank chapter ends the coming-of-age novel Number 9 Dream by David Mitchell, an author better known for what metafictional novel? Tom Tykwer and the Wachowskis directed a 2012 film adaptation of this novel, featuring an ensemble cast performing multiple roles throughout its 6 interwoven plot lines. Kind of like question number 2, I don't have a clue what's going on here, and I thought about it for a while and could not think of anything reasonable, so I'm going to say Ready Player One. Again, I'm pretty sure that that film was after 2012, and probably doesn't fit the other clues either, but it's the best guess I can come up with. And finally, question 6, psychologist Dennis Upper is perhaps best known for publishing a humorous, entirely blank journal article called The Unsuccessful Self-Treatment of a Case of What Condition? The struggling director Guido Anselmi suffers this condition in Fellini's film 8½, and think of another clue later. So I'm just thinking, like, what's a condition that would cause you to, I don't know, leave something that you're doing, lose your concentration? ADHD, maybe? Like, this is a total guess. Again, I don't really know what's going on here. This is, again, a lot of the stuff in this quiz is just not stuff that I know, clearly. This one could be right, but it is a total guess. And I think I will enhance Gladstone because I don't think that knowing he is the rival of Disraeli is necessarily trivial. And the rest feels pretty gettable. I think a lot of people know who Hikaru Nakamura is. And periodic table, if it is right, it's guessable. And the rest of them I just don't feel good about. So, yeah, 3 it is. Bicycles, okay. Fairly straightforward, that one. Hikaru Wolfpeck? Never heard of that in my life. What in the world is that? Bro, Wolfpeck? Yeah, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be that surprised that I haven't heard of it, but like, genuinely, what on earth is that? William Gladstone is correct. Periodic table, got that one. Cloud Atlas, that's unfortunate. It's kind of a skill issue, I think. It's a famous book. It's not something I know anything about, clearly, but probably something I should be getting. And then writer's block, I dare say, is another skill issue. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? Like, I just got stuck on the whole, like, losing concentration ADHD thing. But, like, yeah, writer's block, not knowing what to write next. Kind of fits, doesn't it? Maybe I should have thought a little bit longer about that question, but that is all right. So we'll head to question 3, the pop culture quiz. New Blood, Original Sin, and Resurrection are the subtitles of 2 sequel and 1 prequel series, all of which are part of the universe of what 2000's TV show. Resurrection has yet to be released, but the odds are high that, like the series that are already out, it will center around the title character's frequent extrajudicial killing of criminals. I think this is Dexter. This is something that I saw an ad for Resurrection like 2 days ago on YouTube, which is kind of fortunate because I read the questions like yesterday and it was just like, oh, well, I just saw that. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what Dexter's about. He like goes around killing people basically. So uh, kind of checks out. And it's good because that's one of the I'm not going to do very well in this quiz, but I'm glad I at least knew the answer to that one. Question 2. Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy star in a trilogy of movies set and released in 9-year intervals, whose titles all start with which word? The trilogy examines their journey from 23-year-old strangers who spontaneously spend a night in Vienna together to 41-year-olds fighting over jobs and responsibilities to loved ones. Now, I have a guess for this one, at least, which is more than I can say for most of the rest. But I know that there's a trilogy of films directed by Richard Linklater, I think. They all start with before. I think it's before sunset, before midnight, and there's another one, Twilight or something. To be honest, I don't remember. But I know that there are 3 films that start with before. And it could be this. I mean, this came up in a different trivia thing I did a long time ago. And it's like I just kind of am vaguely aware that these films exist, but I've never seen them. I don't know what they're about. So this is a total guess, but I couldn't think of anything better. Question 3. Which singer returned to the top of the UK charts in 2022 after a song of hers was featured in the 4th season of a non-British television show? She first reached the top of the UK charts in 1978 with a song that includes the lyrics, Heathcliff, it's me, I'm Kathy. I've come home, I'm so cold. So this is clearly a reference to Wuthering Heights by, what's her name? Emily Bronte. But I don't know. Like, there's the song's probably just called Wuthering Heights or something, but I have no idea what that is. So it's not going to help me. I'm going to say Sade because I'm pretty sure that that is a singer from the UK who exists, and that's about all I can say because, to be honest, I can't really think of any others that fit the time frame. If this one even does fit the time frame, honestly, it probably doesn't. But again, I don't know when people did things because I don't know things about pop culture. So I think this is just a bad guess, but I just don't have anything better. Question 4. In 2021, Mark the Beast Lavitt was brought back to the US for an American reboot of what show, which originally premiered in the US in 2013. Prior to that, Lavitt had served in the same role on the original British version of this show. Again, I have absolutely no idea. I'm going to say Kitchen Nightmares. I think this is the Gordon Ramsay one. So it makes sense that it would be originally British, and probably also makes sense that it would have an American spin-off, but it could be literally any show under the sun. I just tried to think of some other stuff. I mean, I thought of like The Office, for example. Time frame, of course, doesn't fit for that, and I just couldn't think of anything better. So again, I'm just kind of giving up and guessing something random. Question 5. The Beatles came back for a #1 hit in late 2023 when which song of theirs rose to the top of the charts? This song was the subject of some controversy due to John Lennon's voice, which was adapted from a demo recording using AI enhancement. My first thought was to say, like, Imagine here, but that's not a Beatles song. That's a John Lennon song specifically. And then I tried to think of Beatles songs that are primarily sung by John Lennon, and to be honest, I'm not sure I know any, because I don't listen to the Beatles, and I don't know their discography very well. So I know some Beatles songs, or at least I know the titles of them. I don't know the lyrics very well. But I don't even know which ones are sung by Lennon. I mean, he obviously sings in probably almost all of them, because he's not the primary vocalist. Anyway, you know what I mean. But I'm just going to say a random song. I'm going to say Love Me Do. Again, I'm guessing that the came back thing is a lyric clue, but I just don't know what it is. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I could say Get Back, but that almost seems too close to if that was the actual clue. So I'm just going to leave it as this. I mean, again, I thought about it for a while. I can't think of any reasonable guess, so I'm just going to have to guess a random Beatles song. Finally, the film The Color of Money centers on players of what game? The film sees Paul Newman reprise a role from a movie released 25 years prior. In that earlier movie, his character obsesses over trying to play and beat the legendary player Minnesota Fats. Once again, absolutely no idea. I'm going to say Pinball. Just a complete guess. I don't know how to get any good information out of this question. If you don't know the thing, you're just not going to get the thing, probably. And then I will enhance Dexter because it's literally the only question I feel even a little bit confident about. And this is an absolute disaster of a quiz. I mean, I normally don't do great with pop culture, but I would say this one is probably below average, but we will see what the results look like. But I was just incredibly lost on most of these questions. And Dexter before, let's go. So it's before sunrise, sunset, midnight. I think I missed sunset. I said like twilight or something. But anyway, that's good. Kate Bush, not good. The Chase, not good. Now and Then, not good. Pool, not good. Well, yeah, 2 out of 6 is it's a bit rough, isn't it? But well, what are you gonna do? Pop culture quizzes will sometimes treat me like that. Kate Bush, I've heard of. I don't know any songs by her. I have seen Stranger Things though, so that's kind of tough. The Chase isn't that? It's like a trivia thing, I think. Never seen it. Now and then. Bloody hell! What was that even the answer to? Oh, the Beatles song. Wait, what? What is that? Bro, I don't think I've even heard of that song. What is Now and Then? I genuinely I don't think I know that song. Please don't kill me. And then Pool, sure, makes sense. I mean, it could have been anything really. So that was a little unfortunate. Anyway, quiz 4 is the media quiz. Sorry if the pictures in number 2 are at all unsettling. Question number 1: What sport played on a hard court in teams of 7 often has disgusting balls like the one pictured below, as players customarily cover them in an incredibly sticky resin for better grip? I am going to say handball for this. I'm not sure. I was unaware that handballs got covered with stuff, if that is what this is. But I think this is roughly what a handball looks like, and it makes sense. I mean, a ball that you would need to grip, like it makes hard court. I mean, it all sounds decent to me. So hopefully that's what's going on. Question 2: What medical procedure in which doctors insert the namesake medical instrument into one's body produces imagery like the pictures below? Your answer does not need to specify an entry point. So I'm just going to say like endoscopy. Because I'm pretty sure that's the general term for stuff like colonoscopy, etc. When you stick a camera basically into somebody's body. Hopefully that's what's happening here. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know what the whole pressure reading thing is about, like millimeters of mercury or whatever. I don't know if it's like an instrument that measures pressure, or if it's just like this is what it looks when you enter the camera at different levels of pressure or whatever the heck. Honestly, I have no idea, but this is the only guess that I could come up with, so I'm going with it. Question 3: The bugs pictured below are essential for producing, hopefully, silk. I assume that these are silkworms. If they're not, well, I feel like a lot of people are probably going to say silk. Question 4: The grotesque figures below are from Eye of the Beholder, an episode of what anthology series? Best guess I have here, anthology series, black and white, like probably just the Twilight Zone. Again, not totally sure. I've only seen a couple episodes of it, but I think that makes perfect sense. Just like with, weird stuff happening in black and white, just kind of sounds like the Twilight Zone. Question 5: Caravaggio's Medusa, pictured below, employs an artistic technique using light and shadow to spotlight the subject. Name either this technique, which comes from the Italian for dark and gloomy, or the more general technique of contrasting light and dark, which is the Italian for light-dark. So the second one is definitely chiaroscuro. I don't actually know what the first one is. Probably scuro something, but thankfully I only need one of the two, and Caravaggio is definitely famous, particularly for chiaroscuro, so yeah, that's definitely what the second one is. And finally, question 6: These images follow the journey taken by the YouTube creator Ordinary Sausage, as he made a sausage using what Scandinavian fermented fish product as the main ingredient? So, like, fermented fish products from Scandinavia, there's, like, Hakarl is the Icelandic one. Oh, that's technically not Scandinavian, I guess. There's, like, lutefisk in Norway, but the famous one that people always talk about is the Swedish one, which is called strömming. Here we go. It's just that one that comes in a can, and YouTubers like open it and gag or whatever the heck. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. Hopefully I haven't picked the wrong fermented fish product, but that is almost certainly what is happening. And then I will probably enhance, honestly, probably number 5, because I feel like chiaroscuro, I don't think it's that hard, but I think it's definitely not trivial. Surstrumming, I think, is just a thing that people on the internet know about these days, and the rest of these feel pretty gettable. I mean, 2 is probably hard, but I also don't feel that confident that it's correct. And the rest of these are, yeah, either I mean, handball, again, I'm not sure that it's right. It just makes sense. But again, if it is handball, a lot of people, I think, are going to get it. So I will go with that, and we shall see. As soon as this is done. Handball, endoscopy is correct. Let's go. Silk, the Twilight Zone, Tenebrism or chiaroscuro, and surströmming, that is 6 out of 6. Absolutely beautiful. Tenebrism, interesting. Yeah, I think I've heard that phrase vaguely, but I wouldn't have gotten it. But yeah, that's a good job and a nice little rebound from quizzes 2 and 3, which were both pretty rough for me. Quiz number 5 is geography. Gotta love geography. Question number 1. A voyage in the 1950s carrying sci-fi author Robert Heinlein is the likely origin of the saying the Atlantic island Tristan da Cunha is the world's most remote inhabited place. Its capital is known locally as the village or the settlement, but is known globally as Edinburgh of the Seven Seas. Question 2. Aside from La Rinconada in Peru, 4 of the 5 highest inhabited settlements in the world, Tuiwa, Chasankun, I don't know, wrong book, and Shuanghu, are found in what first level subdivision? The 6th highest is found in a different country that borders this subdivision. So, I mean, my first thought was that it's like Koshi province or something in Nepal, because that's where the Everest or the Nepal side of Everest is. And then I realized, wait, asking for a province of Nepal would be absolutely diabolical, and some of these names sound pretty Chinese, so it's probably just Tibet. Presumably Lobuche is maybe in Koshi province or one of the other provinces of Nepal, or maybe it's like Bhutan or something. But anyway, or India. But anyway, I think Tibet, if we're talking super, super high elevation stuff, Tibet just makes perfect sense. Question 3. The most populous artificial island in the world, Flevopolder, was created with a decade-long reclamation effort. Flevopolder borders both Markermeer and what other lake? The 10th largest lake in Europe. This would be the IJsselmeer. Is not how you spell that. IJsselmeer is just, I don't know, it's just the big lake thingamajig in the, like, interior of the Netherlands. It's just a name that I've seen enough times that it eventually stuck. Question 4. In the 1980s, scientists discovered how to harness cloud formation called kamanchakas using fog collection techniques to provide much-needed water to cities in what desert, which include Tocopilla and Calama. This is, of course, the Atacama, Calama being one of the larger cities that you see in that desert. Question number 5. The city of Goma, which has at least 750,000 people, is under constant threat by what active volcano in Virunga National Park? Numerous deaths have occurred due to Mazuku, a type of carbon dioxide it exudes, and its 2021 eruption killed at least 30 people. The famous volcano in the DRC is called Mount Nyiragongo. Goma, by the way, Goma's got to be like the most dangerous city in the world. Like you have Mount Nyiragongo threatening to erupt, and then you're on the shores of Lake Kivu, which at any moment could just release inordinate amounts of carbon dioxide and suffocate all like million people living on its shores. Absolutely insane stuff. Probably not a place I would want to live because I feel like I would just live in perpetual fear. Question number 6. What remote town in Quebec is only reachable via a 9-hour drive on a road with only one stop for gas and is the northernmost non-native settlement in the province? It shares its name with an international hotel chain that owns the Park Inn and has subsidiaries that append blue and red to its name. So this is really interesting because I've never heard of this, but blue, spelled B-L-U, Radisson Blue, Radisson, that is a very prominent hotel chain, and you see Radisson Blue kind of all over the place if you look at hotels in well, a lot of places basically. Radisson Blue is just kind of a phrase that exists in my head, but I didn't know that Radisson was a town in Quebec, and I didn't know that it was the northernmost non-native settlement. I didn't know any of this, to be honest. So honestly, really interesting question, and I learned something new today. So question number 5 is probably the one I'm going to enhance because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like IJsselmeer is quite hard, but it's also Europe, and I feel like most of the people playing these quizzes are European, so they're naturally going to know Europe stuff, and they're not going to know African volcanoes as well, so I feel like 5 is the play, and hopefully this is 6 out of 6. I feel pretty good about all of these, so I hope I didn't screw anything up, but we shall see. Yep, that is 6 out of 6, as expected. Love it. On to quiz 7. How are we doing time-wise? We're doing okay, I think. I'm going pretty quickly. I'm going to do quiz 6 last because it's the math quiz. So quiz 7, a tempestuous ménage à trois was shared for years by Paul Éluard, Gala, I guess, and Max Ernst, 3 early members of what art movement? Gala later left the throuple after meeting a young painter from Catalonia in 1929 with whom she had an affair, then later married. Unfortunately, I don't know, and I should. This is like a total skill issue. I think Max Ernst in particular is quite famous. I'm gonna say Fauvism. It's one of those art movements from that kind of time, but I just unfortunately can't remember who Max Ernst is or what he did. So, yeah, skill issue. Question 2. With what poet did Lady Caroline Lamb have a public months-long affair after which she called him mad, bad, and dangerous to know? This aristocratic British poet of She Walks in Beauty died in Greece leading a campaign in the Greek War of Independence. This is Lord Byron. She Walks in Beauty, Like the Night, etc. That is probably his most famous work. In question 3, in what opera does Canio discover his wife Neda's affair with Silvio, leading him to stab them both and proclaim La Commedia è finita? Its title refers to the performing role shared by Canio, Neda, Silvio, and the other members of their troupe. Would it be Pagliacci, which is Italian for clowns. La Commedia Finita is just kind of a really famous ending line, I guess, that I associate with Pagliacci. But again, this all just fits. I mean, troupe, performing role, etc., etc. This is definitely the answer. Question number 4. After years of strained relations, the artists Marina Abramovic and Ulay formalized their breakup with the 3-month performance piece Lovers, where they started at either end of what structure, one at Jiayu Pass and the other at the Bohai Sea, and met in the middle after each walking 2,500 kilometers, which is absolutely insane. This is the Great Wall of China, presumably. I mean, Bohai Sea is the sort of inlet of the Yellow Sea in eastern China, and the Jiayu Pass is presumably just some mountain thing really far west. Question 5. The jazz trumpeter known for songs like Freddie Freeloader and So What had what surname and divorced his wife Betty after accusing her of having an affair with Jimi Hendrix? Kim Carnes sang about a different Betty who shared this surname. Betty Davis Eyes, I think, is the name of that last song. The first guy is Miles Davis. So What is, again, famous Miles Davis thing. And then finally, question 6. After a 72-year-old Goethe was romantically rejected by the 17-year-old Ulrike von Levetzow, or is it Levetzow or Levetsov? Everyone tells me in German, like, all the city names, they end in ov, but everyone's like, oh, it's just o. So I guess it's like Ulrike von Levetzow. He wrote The Immortals Deserted Me in a poem titled Marienbad blank. What type of poem fills in the blank? These poems typically lament the dead, such as one by Thomas Gray, written in a country churchyard. Thomas Gray wrote Elegy, written in a country churchyard. It is his most famous work. So this will be an elegy. And I think I will probably enhance Pagliacci because I think knowing what that is very not trivial. Davis, Great Wall of China, I think relatively easy. Elegy, I think, is not super easy. Nor is Byron. Literature tends to give people trouble, but I still think that number 3 is harder. So that is what I'll go with. And we will see if that is the correct call. Elegy, Davis, Great Wall of China, Pagliacci, Lord Byron, Surrealism, that's tough. Oh, Catalonia. Oh, you idiot. Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay, that's tough. I somehow did not even consider that. Of course, I mean, it makes perfect sense. That's bad. I did not think enough about that question. That is on me. All right. Whatever. 5 out of 6 is solid. I mean, it's still not a super easy quiz, so we'll take it. Although, again, arts and lit does tend to be a strength for me. And finally, we have the math quiz. Hopefully, I do have enough time to explain this. I think I should be fine. First 3 questions are non-computational. The fractal shape below, which is generated by iteratively removing the middle ninth from successively smaller squares, was created by and is named for which mathematician who also names a similar shape generated by iteratively removing the middle fourth from successively smaller equilateral triangles. Sierpinski's triangle is the famous fractal. I mean, to be honest, I've never heard of the square thing, but, well, it sounds like it's the same guy, so I'll take it. Assuming that I'm not confusing this with something else, but the whole triangle thing, I'm pretty sure, is just Sierpinski's triangle. Question 2. In 1770, Joseph Louis Lagrange proved that every positive whole number can be written as the sum of no more than 2. Why did I say 2? No more than how many perfect squares, where the squares do not have to be distinct. For example, 2 equals 1 squared plus 1 squared. So I noodled on this for a little while, just kind of trying different possible combinations and permutations of things. And I ended up landing on 4. I'm pretty sure I have heard of this theorem before, but I couldn't remember exactly what it was. But I tried enough cases in my head that I'm satisfied. I couldn't think of anything that required anything more than 4. So I think 4 is hopefully the answer here. Question 3, which mathematician names a function in number theory that outputs 0 if a positive integer is divisible by a perfect square, and either 1 or -1 if it is not, depending on how many prime factors it has? He is also the namesake of the most common example of a non-orientable surface. Non-orientable surface to me sounds like a Mobius strip, or Mobius, I guess. I don't know the function. I've never heard of it. But I think non-orientable surface, that's just like Mobius strip is just the classic example of that. I hope I'm not confusing it with something else, but I feel pretty decent about that. And now we get to the computational questions. And these ones are doozies. I'm not going to lie. Like, this might be the math quiz that took me the longest out of all the ones we've had so far. I don't remember exactly how long the previous ones took, but this one was definitely a killer. 2 of these questions in particular were very nasty. Starting with number 4, which is one of the nasty ones. What is the smallest positive integer x such that x squared is divisible by 54, 55, 56, and 60? So, again, these took a long time of me just kind of thinking about possible scenarios, possible ways to approach these problems. So I'm going to try and walk you guys through what I did. I already did write some of the stuff down on the whiteboard, but, well, just bear with me, basically. So I'm going to start with the first one. So I was thinking about, okay, when we're talking about numbers being divisible by things, you know, the divisibility rules for the number 6, for example, it's like to be divisible by 6, it has to be divisible by 3 and by 2. To be divisible by 4, it's got to be divisible by 2 twice, etc., right? Basically, it has to be divisible by all of the prime factors of the number, basically. So to be divisible by 54, you have to be divisible by 3 times and 2 once. 55, again, I just wrote out the prime factorizations of 54, 55, 56, and 60. And I basically figured, okay, if you take the highest powers of each of these factors, essentially, and multiply them all by each other, then the resulting number is going to be divisible by all 4 of these numbers, 54, 55, 56, and 60. And if you multiply these numbers together, you get 83,160. So 83,160 is divisible by all 4 of these numbers. So that was kind of the first step that I took in order to try and break this question down. But the question asks for basically what you want is you want to find some number x for which x squared is divisible by all these things. So x squared is going to be some multiple of 83,160. So the question is, what is x? And basically you have to find a multiple of 83,160 that is a perfect square. Now, I started doing this manually. I did like 15 of them. Just multiples of 83,160 and just manually checked, like, is this the square of something? And I eventually realized this is probably a stupid idea because this could take me a really, really long time. I have absolutely no idea how long it's going to be before I run into something. So I started trying to think about other ways to do this. So I was thinking about, okay, if the prime factorization of x squared looks something like this, if it's a multiple of 83,160, the prime factorization is going to be 2 cubed times 3 cubed times 5, blah, 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 times some extra stuff, right? It could be extra 2s, extra 3s, extra whatevers. You know, whatever we're multiplying this thing by, the prime factorization is just going to be this plus some extra stuff. So I was thinking about, okay, what does the prime factorization of x look like if this is the prime factorization of x squared? And how can we guarantee that x... Yeah, how can we guarantee that x is an integer that multiplies into x squared? Basically, I don't know. It's kind of hard to put into words, but the idea that I had was, for example, if you take 2 times 3 times 5 times 7 times 11, right? Just as a kind of a simple example. Whatever that number is. If you square it, right, by exponent rules, if you square all of this, you're just squaring the individual parts. So you end up with 2 squared times 3 squared times et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? All squared. Now, that doesn't quite give me what I need here, but I was kind of thinking along these lines, and I realized, wait a second, if you... like, you know how I said the prime factorization of the eventual answer of x squared is just going to be this here with extra stuff added on to it. This could be to the fourth or the fifth, right? There could be, again, there's going to be extra stuff. That's fine. But what I need to make sure that I do is, if I'm trying to work backwards to figure out what x is, I need to make sure that when I take x and I square it, I get something that looks like this with extra stuff added on. So what I wrote here is actually quite close, because again, most of these things fit quite well, right? 11 squared, 7 squared, 5 squared, these are just kind of extensions of what we have up here. But the 2 cubed and the 3 cubed, I need to make sure that my x also has at least 3 2s and at least 3 3s in it. So I basically said, okay, I'm just going to do this, but I'm going to go to the next highest power. So I basically just said, okay, x would be 2 to the 4th, or sorry, wait. My brain is getting confused. Hold on. There's so much stuff to keep track of. I had to try and rehearse this before I started doing it, because there's so much going on. I have to keep both problems in my head at once. Okay, so if let me just say forget all of this. Okay. So basically, I'm going to do the same thing that I did before, except I want a number that when I square it, it's going to be an extension of the thing that I have circled here. So it's basically the same thing that I previously wrote, except it's going to be 2 squared, 2 squared times 3 squared times 5 times 7 times 11. So when I square this, I end up with 2 to the 4th times 3 to the 4th times 5 squared, 7 squared, 11 squared. All of which are, again, it's just this, except it's this here multiplied by 2, 3, 5, 7, 11 one more time. But the point is, it is still a multiple of 83,160. And this here, unsquared, this little bit here, is a whole number, right? This is an integer. So basically, I think that the lowest number x that fits these criteria, that is a whole number and squares to become a multiple of 83,160, again, something that has all of these prime factors plus some extra stuff, the lowest possible value of x would be 2 squared times 3 squared times 5 times 7 times 11, which gives you, I have it written down, 13,860, or so I believe. Now, here's the thing. I don't feel that great about this answer, because I'm not 100% convinced that my method works. I think it makes sense. I think that my line of logic makes sense, trying to make sure that all the prime factors are covered, etc. But I don't feel amazing about it, and I think it's also entirely possible that I made a calculation error somewhere along the line, or that I transcribed something wrong, or whatever, because I have a bunch written down. It's I'm not 100% sure that this is exactly what I want, but I think that my logic checks out. So, if I'm not mistaken, the smallest positive integer x, such that x squared is divisible by all of those things, should be 13,860. But I can't be sure. Again, I think that it works, but is it the smallest one? Is there some sort of case that I forgot to check? Maybe there's a smaller one that still checks out. I don't know, unfortunately. But, well, it's a good thing I didn't try and brute force it, because I would have been doing it probably my entire life. Anyway, question 5. Lester is playing a game on the grid seen below on the left. In the game, he must shade exactly 9 cells, such that each row, column, and box has exactly 1 shaded cell, trying to minimize his total score. And if you count a number twice, then it only gets counted once in terms of the total. Now, I didn't spend that much time on this question, and I hope I didn't rush it, but I don't think it's that complicated. Again, if you want to pause the video and figure out for yourself, go ahead and do so, but I am under a little bit of time pressure right now. So I think here the answer is going to be 15. If you highlight 1, for example, in the first row, and then first row of the second bit and the first row of the third bit, then it's you can't highlight 2 or 3. You can't highlight 4 because it's in the same column as 1, so the best you can do is 5, and then you're going to have to do 9. So you can highlight all the 1s, all the 5s, all the 9s. You get 1 plus 5 plus 9 as your total, which is 15. You can do it with 7, 5, and 3. Like, it works multiple ways, but I don't think there's a way to get it under 15. And finally, another doozy. If the square seen below has a side length of 1 and all the curves shown are portions of circles with radius 1 whose centers lie on vertices of the square, the area of the shaded region can be written as exactly this, where a, b, and c are rational numbers. What is a plus b plus c? All right. Not a lot of time to explain this, so I'm going to try and do this in the time that I have. Here is the square. Now, the first thing that I did was I was trying to figure out, okay, okay, I guess I should probably label the edges of the square, right? This is a unit squared, side length of 1. Now, again, these little arcs are quarter circles, essentially. So the area of the square is 1. May as well write that down as well. Let me just have this next to me because I want to be able to refer to the things I've written down. Area of the square is 1. We are looking for the area of the x's, basically. So I labeled x is the unknown. I mean, x is what I'm looking for, so it makes sense to label these as x. So I labeled these little outer bits as x. There's 4 of them. I labeled the little triangle-looking thingies as y, and I labeled the middle part as z. I just figured it would be good to have, like, a name for everything. And I started just trying to figure out, like, how the heck can I figure out the values of these variables? What sort of nifty tricks can I use to figure this out? And again, this took me a long time. I was doing a lot of fiddling, a lot of messing around with a bunch of different scenarios. And I think I eventually came up with something, but again, it took a while, and it might be a little bit difficult for me to explain, and I don't have a lot of time to do so. So basically, the way I did it was I'm trying to solve for x, y, and z, so I tried to make equations out of x, y, and z based off of what I know. So the area of the square is 4x plus 4y plus z, right? That's just all of the stuff inside added up. And we know that the area of the square equals 1, right? So that's one equation out of our 3 variables. A second equation that we can make is if you take 1/4 circle out of this diagram, which would be, say, oh God, I'm not going to have time for this, for crying out loud. If we say, like, this quarter circle here, right? This is, we can say, oh my God, hold on, 2x plus 3y plus z equals the area of this, which is pi over 4, because it's a quarter of a unit circle. And finally, I had to make a third equation because you want 3 equations and 3 variables. System of 3 equations, you can solve for the variables from there. So I had to figure out another way to make an equation. Now, oh, this is so big, whatever. So the last thing this one took me a while. I was trying to figure out another way to get an equation out of this diagram, some other way that I could relate these variables to each other. And I eventually thought to look at this little shape here. And I was like, okay, how can we figure out what the area of this thing is? It's 2y plus x plus z, but what is it in terms of, like, what does that actually equal? So my thought was to kind of zoom out. So this is the intersection of 2 circles. We can look at it in this diagram over here. It is equivalent to this little shape that we have here. And again, this is 2 circles where the edge of one is the center of the other, basically. So A and B are the centers of the respective circles. So you can look at the triangle ABC, and you can figure out what the area of the triangle ABC is. Since the radius here is 1, this is an equilateral triangle. So the area, oh my God, whatever, area of triangle ABC is equal to square root of 3 over 4. If you just, use the formula for the area of a triangle and special right triangle, blah, 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 whatever. Again, I don't have a lot of time to explain this. So the area of the triangle is root 3 over 4. And the area of the sector here, if you take a look at, if you think about, I'm going to need another thing. If you take a look at, say, this little sector here of this circle, this little pizza slice of the right circle, this is a 60-degree angle, so this slice is exactly 1/6 of the circle, which means that if the circle is pi in terms of the area, then the area of the sector is pi over 6. So basically, what I did was I figured out that um, oh my god, how much time do? Oh my god, I have 2 minutes. Crap, dude. Oh, for crying out loud! I'm gonna go submit the quiz because Benny and Looney are probably gonna get angry with me if I don't submit the quiz on time. So I'm gonna submit the quiz with my answer, which is 7/12. I'm gonna pray that that's correct. I think I'm gonna enhance that because I feel a little bit better about this answer than I did about the other one. And I have to really hope that I didn't make any silly mistakes here, but I'm going to go ahead and submit, and then I'll go back to the explanation. So Sierpinski for Mobius, 13/860, 15, and 7/12, please. What did I just do? 7/3. For God's sake. 13, everything else was right, too. Are you serious? A equals 4, B equals -2/3, C equals negative. Oh, I rushed it, dude. No. I didn't double check. Ah, crap. Crap. What did I do? What did I do? Oh, no. Well, now I'm not even sure that my logic checks out. Dang it, man. This is like the first time this has happened. And I enhanced it like an idiot. I really thought I was right. Dude, that sucks. Okay, well, alright. I'm gonna still try and explain what I did, although clearly something was wrong with what I did, so take it with a grain of salt. I will, if I can remember, I'll leave the link to the question solutions in the description of the video so you guys can look at the real typed up solution to this math problem. It's annoying. Okay. So anyway, I was looking at the area of this sector of the circle, which I determined was pi/6. So basically, if the orange bit is pi/6 and the green bit here is √3/4, then the small bit, when I say the small bit, let's see. Dude, now I like don't even feel sorry. The area of the green thing is not √3/4. That's confusing. I shouldn't have done it in green. The area of the triangle ABC is √3/4. So the area of this small bit. How do I change the color of? There we go. Oh my god, that is horrendous. The area of this little guy here. Hopefully you guys can see that well enough. My god. The area of that guy should be pi/6 minus √3/4, right? Area of the sector minus the area of the triangle. Now, what that means is that the area of the green thing, the entire like triangle looking thingamajig, is √3/4 for the triangle plus 2 times this, 2 times pi/6 minus √3/4, which simplifies in total to pi/3 minus √3/4. So what you end up with is x plus 2y plus z equals pi/3 minus √3/4. So, what you get is 3 equations in 3 variables, x, y, and z. What I did was I subtracted the third equation from the second one in order to get x plus y. Then I plugged that back into the first one, which gave me z. I figured out that z was 1 plus pi/3 minus the square root of 3. And then I plugged z back in, solved the system equations for x and y. And what I got was that x is equal with x is what I was solving for, right? Did I? Oh my god. I know exactly what I did. Oh, you idiot. Oh, you idiot. This is what happens when you don't double check your work. I rushed it because I needed to get the video recorded and I somehow neglected That's so annoying, dude. I did all the work. I did all the hard work, and then I forgot that it was. I put in the area of 1x rather than what the question was asking for 4x. Oh, for God's sake. That is so incredibly annoying. Okay, so when you solve the system of equations, I'm not going to show you the entire solution because it's a pain. I just did a whole bunch of math to simplify down to x, y, and z. But anyway, I got z equals 1 plus pi over 3 minus the square root of 3. Use that to solve for x and y, and eventually got that x is equal to 1 minus 1/6 pi minus 1/4 times root 3. Thus, a equals 1, b equals minus 1 over 6, c equals 1 over 4, and I very foolishly took this at face value and said that those were a, b, and c, so I said that the answer was 1 minus 1/6 minus 1/4, which is 7 over 12, when in fact, the area of the shaded region is 4x, which means that a plus b plus c is 4 times 7/12, which is 7/3, which is exactly what the answer was in the quiz. And I am now very annoyed at myself for doing that because I kind of left this problem a little bit to the last minute, and I was freaking out trying to make sure I could solve it in time, and I did get it. And then I rushed it because I wasn't thinking. So funny, I tutor the SAT, and I say all the time, one of the things that I try to emphasize the absolute most is pay attention to detail, because the SAT is written to trick you. The whole point is that they're trying to fool you. They're trying to write things weirdly in order to make you read it wrong. And then I go and read a math question wrong in a YouTube video. That is not ideal. But the nice thing is that I believe I did do the math correctly, and it wasn't easy. And I really did get through. Oh no, you can't see. Oh, sorry. Dang it. My bad. I guess I didn't cover that much, but anyway, that's what's covered. But I did all the math correctly and then just made a stupid mistake at the end, which is, yeah, super typical. But, you know, that's what happens when you don't double check your work, kids. So double check your work. But hey, I mean, in spirit, I got it. I mean, I did everything right. I figured out this whole stuff, which again took a really long time because it's not an easy problem at all. So still pretty happy with how that quiz went, to be honest, but just kind of a sour end. Anyway, that is it for the week. I finish in oh yeah, okay. I was reading question 6 is question 5. Sorry, I was reading quiz 7 is quiz 6. I'm tired, I don't know. 5.00 is highly unfortunate on the math quiz, but yeah, I screwed up. What can I say? I just screwed up. So whatever. 2.24 on the pop culture quiz is horrendous, but everything else was honestly pretty solid. Quiz 2 wasn't great, but I got quite a few 6s, 3 6s and a couple 5s. Should probably have been 4 6s, but again, math is hard, I guess. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hope the crazier among you who are actually still here found the math explanations at least a little bit enlightening, although when I'm in a rush and when I'm drawing with a mouse, it's never going to be very pretty, so I apologize for that. But yeah, that's going to be it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for sticking with it this far if you did. And yeah, I guess I got nothing else to say other than I will see you in a week, or around a week at least, for week number 5, the final week of the regular season, of the final season of the LDQL. But yeah, thanks, and see you next time.